What's up, everybody? My name is Joe. I work in the equipment room, and today we're back with another video about lenses. Now, to start off, we have two types of lenses. We have your standard prime and we have a zoom lens. So for example, a prime is gonna be this 21mm lens, which is a fixed focal length. Normally when you have a prime lens, the aperture is a lot wider. So this DZO 21mm lens goes to 2.1, and all of the DZO lenses go to 2.1. When it comes to primes, you can't zoom in on them. Obviously, you're at a fixed focal length, meaning when it says 21, you're at a 21. When it says 35, you're at a 35. Now, when it comes to zoom lenses, which one that we have here is this 35 to 80, and then we also have this 70 to 200, you can zoom in. Zooms are something you might use for either sports photography or in documentaries because you can zoom on them. A lot of the times it's just because your scenery is always changing, you want to be able to move with whatever is happening. So say, you're using your zoom lens and you're filming someone across the field at 200mm. You're wanting to zoom out as they're running towards you to be able to go to a 70. When you're at a prime, you're not going to be able to do that. If you're shooting a short film, personally, I'm always going to shoot on a prime because it's making me pick my framing. It's making me choose what I want the viewer to see. When you're using a zoom lens for a short film, for example, like this 35 to 80, you might be at a 35 and then say like, okay, let's go in for a close-up, I'm gonna zoom in. But you're not really moving the camera anywhere, you're just zooming into an 80. So then you really have to move around your frame a lot. Each lens is gonna give you a different feeling, and that's really all gonna depend on what you're filming. So for short films, maybe you're going for something like super eerie and scary, then a wide lens might really help with that to, distort reality. When it comes to using a zoom like this 70 to 200, this Canon 70 to 200 gives off a great picture. I'm using it for not my short films, but I'm mainly using it for sports photography. I'm using it for normal portrait photography. The compression that the 70 to 200 gives you, it's just beautiful. It's really shrinking down stuff, and we'll show an example of what a zoom can do for you in famous films and stuff like that. When you're shooting your short films, maybe the first thing you're wanting to do is show your settings. And that's what we're taught in class a lot is, you have your standard like establishing shot. So shooting on something wide is really gonna help with that to show the building that you're in, the classroom, before you're moving in for your standard close-ups and extreme close-ups. So something like the 35 would be really great. The 21 also really great. Or if you're wanting to get really wide, then something like this Wovi, I think that's how you say it, 12mm lens is gonna be really awesome. Although this 12mm lens is really gonna distort reality, but if that's a feeling that you're going for, then by all means use it. Each lens is really gonna change the shape of your subject's face. So I think they normally say that a 40 or 50 is what the human eye sees, but a lot of cinematographers and movies, they'll just go for like a 35 to show your settings. Longer lenses, and when I say longer, I'm saying something like 50 and above, so like 75 to 135 is really gonna compress everything and make everything feel closer together. Maybe I'm filming two people in a coffee shop and I have someone in front of me and then I have someone, maybe 5 or 6 feet behind them. If I'm using a longer lens, it's gonna look like they're a little bit closer together than they are in reality. So each lens is gonna give you a different type of vibe. Like Conor just told me, a driver's side mirrors, the little sticker, it says objects may appear closer than they are. Always check your mirrors and use your blinkers. Each lens is, gonna change your subject's face and how they look. So if you're using something 21 or lower, it's gonna distort your image. So if I'm shooting on, say, like a 35 and I have a bar going across my screen, then it's gonna look straight. I'm not gonna get any sort of like bending or anything like that. But something 21 and lower is gonna curve that line. It's gonna stretch the face. And this 12mm lens is great. I've used it already once in our music video production class when we had to film ourselves. And I'll put up like the example clips right now. I wanted to give it a different feeling for my music video that I was doing. And I was inspired to use the lens from some commercials that I had been seeing and like behind the scenes that I'm always watching. They use a 12mm lens a lot to show something that someone's holding. So if you ever see someone holding a phone or holding sunscreen or holding anything, they're using a super wide lens so it looks bigger in your frame. You know, in the music video, in this clip, I'm wanting to show myself scrolling on my phone. So I was using what's called a magic arm and a clamp from the bottom of my camera, holding my phone in the front. And I'm using this 12mm lens to just give us this like fixed position. And it got the job done. And it's what I want. It's the look that I wanted for the music video. You can always film on something wider than a 12. We don't have anything in the equipment room that's wider than a 12 right now. Fingers crossed, maybe we will. But that's when you're going for this like fisheye look, and that's when you see like skateboarding videos, and you're filming someone. What is it called? Grinding? What do you call it? What do you call it? What is it? What is it called? Yeah. Okay. So maybe you're filming someone like ollie over a gap. For my skaters right there, those are the terms. And you're gonna use a fisheye lens because you want to see their whole body and stuff like that. And a fisheye lens looks great for music videos, skateboarding. And you're using each lens for the specific situation that you're filming in. Someone I really admire and like look up to as a wannabe cinematographer would be someone like Roger Deakins. He's shot Fargo, he shot Jarhead, he shot Prisoners, he's shot a ton of things. And what I learned from him is to shoot on primes, and it's because when you're shooting on a prime, it's making you pick your frame. You're deciding, what you want the viewer to see within your little square frame. When it comes to Deakins, on his podcast, which I totally recommend listening to, he tells us the different types of lenses that he's going to be using. Now, he always uses, or lately, the industry standard camera, which has been a ARRI Alexa.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
Or any of the ARRI cameras. He's using like ARRI primes, and those are very specific lenses and a very specific camera, but it always looks great. He says that for an over-the-shoulder, he's gonna be shooting with a 32-35. A mid-shot, he's gonna be using a 35-40. A standard close-up, he's gonna use a 50mm, and then for an extreme close-up, he's gonna use a 65-75. And of course, you don't have to follow those rules or anything like that. And I mean, you don't even have to listen to me in this video, but as a cinematographer, you need to work with your director on the feeling of the movie that you're trying to shoot. Deakins, when it came to shooting the movie Fargo, they decided to shoot on longer lenses to give it a documentary look. Maybe like on something like The Revenant, they shot on like super wide lenses, like 12-14 and stuff like that. So really, you just need to work out what you want your audience to feel, and if you want them to be almost transported into your short film or your feature-length film. In the equipment room, we have 3 sets of cameras. We have the Canon C500 Mark II, the Sony a7S and a7R, and then we also have the Blackmagic cinema camera. So when it comes to the C500, we have a EF mount camera. So when it comes to using the EF, that's when you'll be able to use, this 12mm prime or this 70-200. We also have a PL mount, which is gonna be these DZO lenses right here. And you can tell that it's a PL mount because of its pattern right here. It doesn't really have like this locking mechanism that the EF one has. It doesn't have like the little red dot that you see on them that clicks into place or anything like that. The PL mount is the industry standard for, decades now, just because of how sturdy they are. We also have a converter, so Say if you're checking out the EF mount C500 and you're wanting to use this 12mm lens for just a couple shots of the day, and then you're wanting to switch to the PL mount, you have that ability with just 4 screws and changing it and stuff like that. When it comes to the Sonys, the basic mount for the Sony cameras is going to be the E mount. Along with that, we also have bought a E mount to PL mount, allowing you to use these PL mount lenses. Something to note about, you know, the PL mount and even the Rokinon lenses that we have is that they don't have autofocus. So you will be having to pull focus the whole time that you're shooting, you know, rather than if you're using, you know, the 7200 or the 24-70 that have autofocus. Of course, you can put these into manual mode and, you know, pull focus as you need it, but if you're using a smart lens, autofocus has become pretty good on cameras lately. And then finally, we have the Blackmagic Cinema camera, and that one is gonna be E-mount. Now, we don't have any sort of converters for that, so really the only lenses that you can use for the E-mount on the Blackmagic is gonna be the Rokinons or the other standard Canon lenses that we have in the equipment. As a like up and coming like DP and cinematographer, I find myself, you know, getting very overwhelmed when it comes to working on things. And I'm always reminded that someone like Roger Deakins, you know, when he first applied to film school, he didn't get in. Someone like James Cameron didn't start his film career till he was almost 30 years old. And he was working, you know, odds and end jobs like carpentry, painting, construction, and even like Christopher Nolan, you know, he applied for film school and he didn't get in either. And even now, he still hasn't gone to film school. I think his degree was in like English or something like that. Great writer. But you know, I'm always like dealing with like self-doubt when it comes to like my age, and I think along with other people, you might be feeling that as well. So just always remember that the greats struggled as well. You know, you're not the only person in this industry that is struggling to write, to get a great picture, to make sure your lighting is perfect. So the greats struggled as well.
Because I want to be great.
And you're not.
I want to be one of the greats.
And you know, when you're looking through Lens Engine and all the equipment that we have, you might still be feeling very overwhelmed on the wide variety of lenses that we have. So the widest lens that we have is going to be that Wovi 12mm lens, and then the longest lens that we have is the 70-200 in a zoom. And a prime, the longest one that we have goes up to 135. You know, but in the equipment room, we have some great glass. And personally, you know, like I said before, I will always use primes, and I always like to use these DZO lenses because of its close focus distance. So, you know, if I'm really wanting to get up on my subject on a standard lens, this won't be in focus. You know, you have to be at least like a foot away or something like that. But with these DZO lenses, you can get super close to your subject and still be in focus the whole time, which is very nice. And you know, I have my standard go-to lenses that I film on every single time when it comes to cutting room floor, or even our upcoming untitled, you know, capstone movie. I have a set, you know, trio that I'm always gonna get, which is gonna be a wide, which is gonna be a 21, a 35, and then a 50 as well. You know, I might get something a little bit longer than that if I am doing a specific shot, but when I'm getting my lenses and I'm picking out for my film, these are the 3 standard ones that I'm always going to go with. When I'm shooting full frame, I'm always gonna shoot 4K. And of course in post, that's gonna allow you to crop in just a little bit. But say like I'm on my 50 and I just wanna go in that much, like that little bit closer, but for some reason I'm not changing lenses, or I don't have the lens, I have the ability to crop in camera to Super 35 to make it an 80mm lens. And I'm not gonna lose quality on that. It's still gonna shoot 4K all the way. When I'm shooting a Super 16, I'm gonna lose that bit of quality. It won't shoot in 4K anymore. I know it's gonna be shooting in 1080. It's really your job to work with your director to figure out the feeling for your short film. You know, you're the one that's deciding the lenses and stuff like that, unless your director knows which one they're gonna do, but most of the time they don't. So it's really up to you to help your director get their vision across and bring your viewers into your reality that you're trying to create. Now, a lot of the times I don't like to shoot with zoom lenses, and that's only because I will shoot with the zoom lens if I'm doing a specialty shot. So we have this 35 to 80 here, which is a great, it's a PL mount and it's a great zoom lens, super heavy, but it's just a great piece of glass. A zoom lens is really gonna be used for very special shots. So something like the vertigo effect that we always hear about in our film classes, from Jaws to Guardians of the Galaxy to Lahain. And you're gonna see these clips right here. Someone like Tarantino uses crash zooms a lot. So in any Tarantino movie, if you're a fan, you'll see the crash zoom and you know what I'm talking about. You might want to use a zoom lens and do a slow zoom to really emphasize your character and the settings that they're in. So an example for that would be a movie called Gato Diario, which is just Dear Diary. Just use a zoom lens if you're doing a specialty shot, in my opinion. You don't have to listen to me. I just work in the room, but hey, I like movies. Looking through all the lenses and on Lens Engine, and you can't decide what you want to use. So lots of movies have been shot on just one lens. Either they shoot the whole thing on a 35 or they're shooting the whole thing on a 21. You really have to test out these lenses to see the feeling that it's giving you and that you want to give your audience. Something like 1917, which was also shot by Roger Deakins, was all shot on a 40mm lens. That whole movie is supposed to be a one shot. Obviously they hide the cuts very well, but that whole thing was shot on a 40. Call Me By Your Name was all shot on a 35mm lens. Maybe you have a upcoming short film, and we have a wide variety of lenses for you to come check out in the equipment room. Anytime you're wanting to come in and there's an assistant there, you can ask them nicely to see what the lenses look like and actually test your equipment.
Hello everyone, my name is Connor and I'm another film and media program assistant in our equipment room, just like Joe. He doesn't want to discuss the boring parts of these videos, so I'm here to talk to you about the anatomy of the camera lens. So today I'm just going to be running through the basic parts of a camera lens, and this is Joe's favorite 70 to 200mm Canon lens. So under the lens cap you're going to find the first surface of the lens, and beyond that this is called the filter thread. And then right here you can read the lens manufacturer, or you can see it right here. And then you'll see the focus adjustment ring. And then right here is the working distance range. So you'll also have some thumb screws on a couple lenses, but this one does not have those on it that you are able to adjust. We're gonna move to the iris adjustment ring right here. So the iris adjustment ring is not the same as the zoom, but on this zoom lens, this will be changing the focal length of the lens, which will capture, magnify, shrink the view of the scene that you are shooting at that given time. But the iris adjustment actually controls the amount of light entering the camera by adjusting the aperture, which is important. Thank you guys for listening.
Be sure to like and subscribe on the video. If you want any more videos on the equipment in the equipment room, just comment below. Birds up.
You guys are still here?
Don't talk yet.
Gotcha. I really hope this sounds good.
Whoa. I think this sounds good. If you want to, we can.
I just mean like audio, that's why.
Oh.
Yeah, but I think it should.
What?
It's off.
No. Are you for real?
Yeah.
Is it not charged?
Good thing we have time.
Yeah, that's okay. Can I stop?